Oh, good. Remember last?
Oh, hello, my friends. It's Andy and Leandra. Now we're just basically the Andy and Leandra show.
I know. Two cops in a shop. If it works for LAPD.
Yeah.
What we did.
So I'm always having it, but one of these days you'll get the mic situation right too. Yeah, we've been on a lot because there's a lot happening at PYLUSD and the surrounding community, which is also kind of affects what happens at PYLUSD. And so I'm going to jump right in right away.
Yep, let's do it.
Because I want to talk about law enforcement and what the teachers and the unions are doing to interfere with the fact that police officers are simply trying to do their job, arrest criminals.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the basis for the job.
Yeah.
You know, keeping people safe and making sure that when they're asleep at night that they don't get, robbed.
Jacked,
and they're jacked, their cars stolen, children get molested and disappeared, really disappeared.
Yeah.
Not like criminals going to jail.
Right.
They're calling that disappearing. So I want to bring up this post that I just saw today. It's by someone. I'm not necessarily their name. Oh, it's right there.
Hello.
There's no way of getting rid of it. So anyway, but they put this thing on there and I'm going to go ahead and read it because this is kind of the problem. So it says, today was heartbreaking and terrifying to be on a school campus right now is heavy. Impossible to act normal. I'm truly friends. What? I'm truly friends with these students and teachers, and the kids should not grow up in the situation. I was at Woodcrest Elementary today. I shouldn't be traumatized at work. No excuse is acceptable. And what it seems to be is that Fullerton and ICE agents were arresting somebody in a area near the school.
That looks like a parking structure for like an apartment complex.
Yeah, she leaves no context for what's happening, and there's a little map there. It's not on the school campus.
No,
it's near the school campus.
Right.
And so suddenly, law enforcement doing law enforcement things, is traumatizing apparently. And
how did she know who the people were in the next complex over?
Yeah, why they were being arrested.
Yeah.
That kind of force usually means it's probably a felon. I don't know exactly. And then you have all these comments in here from other people who are traumatized apparently from the post.
Well, I do like that one, heartbreaking, but upholding constitutional law isn't always easy. I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah, we have to do it. Police work isn't always, for the faint at heart when you have to go in there and arrest a felon. And it says, was Woodcrest put on a lockdown? So she puts this thing up and it just stokes fear. And this is coming from a school campus. And then, of course, we have Bonnie Conte in here saying...
There was another PYL employee on there.
Oh, where's that one?
Right there. Leanne Cleary Ochoa. I believe she still works in our district.
Oh, I
believe it won't be long before they're at the school I'm at.
If the criminal runs there, if the criminal who's wanted, who's dangerous, runs to a school, what they're saying that law enforcement shouldn't keep that from happening?
Well, and I think we have to start to ask, because obviously you worked... you worked in a city with high schools, such as I did. And we would go on campus all the time to arrest the students. And we never had people care that we're arresting the students or having narcotics or for having whatever.
Parents would be happy.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes like parents didn't even want to go pick them up.
Right.
But, so what's the difference here? Law enforcement doing their job, arresting students or arresting, for crime or arresting someone else for a crime. Like, what happened to allowing law enforcement to do their job? Yeah,
so that's going to bring me to a question, because this is ongoing. We have a teacher at El Dorado High School who teaches history, Jenny Bremer, who created these cards that she made up using, I'm assuming, school resources to do it. Who knows? But it's telling the students how to interfere with ICE. And what not to do and all this types of stuff. So this history teacher at El Dorado High School is stoking up fear in these children of something that's not happening. We have the NEA and the school teachers union in Minnesota shutting down the schools for who knows why.
Yeah.
But I believe because they think that maybe some high schoolers would be able to protest and get out there. That's one of my thoughts, is that it would give them more people that would go out there and interfere with law enforcement.
Right.
And so the NEA is clearly a part of this, which the NEA is the CTA and is the APLE. They're all one cabal.
The National Education Association.
Yeah.
It's the national level of what like the California Teachers Association is. Yeah.
I'm going to bring up another article in regard to that later on. It has to do with another topic that I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
But is there anything that we can do as the district to have something that supports law enforcement, so the students can hear the truth about law enforcement, that we arrest bad guys. We will sometimes chase people like they did in Minnesota, and they're trying to claim they went on a school campus, which what they were doing was pursuing a felon who was running onto the campus, and they kept that from happening, which we don't want, so that we can have these children get an understanding of what law enforcement does, which includes ICE, Border Patrol, Sheriff's Department, local police, and all the other law enforcement agencies that may come into play here. Is there something that we can do as a district?
Yes.
And I'm saying we because parents and the school board is supposed to be the representative of the community.
Right.
We want the students to understand what law enforcement actually does. Is there a way that we can? Is there like a day or a week or a month law enforcement day?
Well, so that's actually what I brought this up at the board meeting on Tuesday, and I haven't clipped my board report yet. But basically, this was my whole thing: is we now have preschool teachers who are passing out ICE cards to parents, like preschool teachers. Like, what are we doing? And we have teachers in the classrooms that are calling ICE and law enforcement murderers. Yep. Like, that's not a part of our district curriculum, and I don't know why I mean, I do. I have this whole. I understand exactly why it's happening. You have a board majority who has supported principals who have been, who've harassed police officers and SROs. And then you have a board majority who just allows this type of behavior to happen because it's stuff that they support.
Right.
And, they don't take a stand against it. So I think that's why everything is going kind of to hell in a handbasket right now, is because you have these teachers who now go, well, we're with the union. We helped them get elected. This is what we want. We wanted this autonomy in our classrooms to be able to talk trash about law enforcement and ICE, and be able to talk trash about the Republican Party and the president, and, be able to put in our political views. And I had a parent who was reaching out, and ICE just sent them, straight to the principal to report it. But she says, you know what? Like, I support law enforcement. Do not call law enforcement and ICE murders. Do not do this. And so actually what I'm going to do on the next board meeting, I'm preparing a resolution right now to basically say that Placentia or Belinda Unified School District will support law enforcement, and we will support ICE. Because if you think about it, and I think that's we either need a briefing from when we bring this resolution forward, we need a briefing from ICE, or we need a briefing from the Orange County Sheriff's Department that explain to the parents that if ICE is going to issue a warrant onto our campuses for something, it is all being done lawful. They're not just going to run into the campus and pick up kids, which is what the teachers are trying to scare these kids into doing. And if, and then this is another thing too, is nobody knows where she made these cards, right? I mean, people are just assuming she made them at school.
Yeah,
but then but then if that's true, when they keep asking all these parents for donations for paper and supplies, parents don't want to give their hard-earned money and, stuff to supplies to be pushing out for political things, just like at El Dorado.
We know Carrie Buck used school resources.
Yes, she did for years at El Camino.
Yep.
She did it for his house OC, thank you cards. And, you can't, as an elected official, you cannot be taking donations and elections to where your job is. And that's what she was doing. And El Sasser and the board majority refused to investigate her. And so here we are. So you have the same thing. We have Democrat Party operatives using our, high school facilities, and our students to create videos for their, for their social media staff and to put out. That is taxpayer money, and that is completely, against the rules. And so, yes, I will be bringing forward a resolution, to be voted on at the next board meeting, because it has to stop. We can't allow a one-sided narrative in there. And if we need to do an entire district, even for the little kids, to bring law enforcement in there and to explain to them what is actually going on and the truth behind it all. Because if you even look at that little boy that the dad, he was the dad took off or something.
When they're claiming they used as a lure.
Yeah. And so I stood there and took care of him because the dad took off running and left the kid there, whatever the story is. So it's just like there's so much misinformation. And I just feel like these teachers in these classrooms, and then the whole thing too is when I brought it up in the board meeting, controversial issues, you're going to bring something up like that. Like this teacher silenced the kids, says, nope, you don't get to talk. You don't get to have a conversation. So this is not your political, whatever it is, podium. Never mind. I'm not going to keep going.
Well, you brought up three things that I want to comment on. And first of all, the last thing he says, controversial. It should not be controversial. None of these things should be controversial. Men and girls sports, the men in the girls locker room, in the bathrooms. That's only controversial in the eyes of people that are crazy.
Yes.
Law enforcement, bad. Shouldn't be controversial. That's wrong. And it's a lie. So just on that. The other thing is you just brought it up and I didn't think about this, that, I spent tons of money in buying pencils and paper and things that they say, you need to bring these because our kids won't have them if you don't have them. And then we have school board members using those very resources that we are, supplying because they claim that they can't afford it and it's not part of the budget.
And then Carrie in 2022, she said it was a donation. So who's making the donation to your private business?
I didn't ask for my stuff to be used.
No, and not at his house to see who gave that. But people come forward and said she was doing that for years, and it wasn't until she was exposed that they try to put a stop to it.
And just on the third thing, just because I want to make sure this is clear, is that you were a police officer. I was. How many parents did you arrest in your time? A lot. And so I want to know, what do these people want us to do when we arrest the parents and a child is in the car? Just leave the kid in the car, in the car seat, and say, sorry, you're going to be going with the car as it gets towed to the tow yard.
And that's the thing. There's such a lack of understanding about what happens is when there are kids in the car. Like we're on the phone, we're calling, the other parent, a relative, we're calling people, and other officers will come as that person goes to jail. Usually the officers will come and wait for the relative or somebody to come pick the kid up so they don't have to go, to the station. But if we can't find anybody, we have to take them to the station with us.
A horrible situation. Yeah, we hated it.
And you're babysitting these kids. I mean, it's just,
you're
getting all, you're using all the money for the vending machine.
Yes, our own money. We don't have a problem doing that because we care about the kids.
Yeah,
I carried a bunch of stuffed animal dogs in the trunk of my car that I would give to the kids and talk to them and do whatever I could to calm them down, because it's the parent that put them in that situation. We didn't. No. What are we supposed to say? Okay, sorry, this guy robbed a bank and he has his kid with him, so you're free to go.
Yeah.
That's
because then everybody will take their kids with them. They'll have them in those little baby Bjorns, robbing banks. Well, okay, I have a kid, so let me go. Yeah. But that's the thing too. It's the irresponsibility to put your child in that situation.
Right.
Sometimes stuff just happens. It does. All right. But.
So it'd be great if we could do something like that. I remember
I'm working on that.
On Red Ribbon Week. It was always hard for me to say. Red Ribbon Week. I did a lot of them because I did canine and they would ask me to do these things all the time. But those were some of the most popular things that we would do, where the kids would come out and see the dogs. The SWAT team would come and they would put on the bullet resistant vests and the tactical equipment, that kind of stuff. The kids love it.
Land the helicopters.
Land the helicopter. Bring the police cars in and they could go inside and turn on the siren and all that kind of stuff. It is one of the most popular things for the kids. But what they're busy trying to do is make it toxic, that law enforcement is toxic and horrible and you need to be afraid of them. We fought for years to teach kids, don't be afraid of the cops.
Yes.
Be friends with the cops, talk to the cops, say thanks to a cop. But that's not what they want. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next subject or else we're going to go on forever.
Yes.
And that is, I just want to talk about the teachers union really quick. That is one of my favorite things. For years, I've been studying them. I have books. My latest book is called NEA, the Trojan Horse of Education. And this article just came out yesterday, I believe. And it's the, they're going to say, well, it's from Fox News, but it's an article. Nonetheless, it's a whistleblower. They just happen to get the story. And the title is fantastic. Sorry about that. NEA insider blows whistle on toxic culture and far left politics inside teachers union. It's a cult. I'm going to read some of this article. Forgive me as I read it, but As the National Education Association, one of the most prominent teachers union in the country, continues to face criticism over placing far left agenda items over the needs of children, something I've been saying for years, and so have you. A whistleblower organization spoke to Fox News Digital about the toxic politics and inside headquarters. It's a very liberal place. There's only a handful of conservatives that work at NEA. And if you are, it's like you just don't say anything. Mm-hmm. How many times we've heard teachers that are conservative? That's exactly
what our district teachers say.
Because it's a very toxic environment. If you do say something, an NEA employee who is remaining anonymous due to concerns of retribution told Fox News, it's crazy. They'll send out this weekly newsletter of Trump's fascist and blast it to all the states.
Yep.
The whistleblower described a workplace where staff members are often subject to staff meetings and breakout sessions focused on social justice and white supremacy. I don't see math, reading, arithmetic, anything. Oh, I said math. Supremacy and all that nonsense that feel more like brainwashing than do education. It's a cult. It's 100% a cult. And if you don't have their mindset, you're the enemy. Just a little bit more, because it gets really interesting here. Earlier this month, Fox News Digital on a federal NEA filing showing the union funneled millions of dollars to far-left activist groups, ballot initiatives, and social justice organizations. Among the largest expenditure was more than $3.5 million sent to Education International, a global teachers federation where NEA President Becky Pringle serves as a vice president. Why are we sending money internationally? The whistleblower told Fox. They're not American teachers. In November, Fox News Digital on NEA training sessions instructing members on a variety of far-left causes, including how to go through a gender transition at work, best practices for using gender pronouns and combating transphobia, while also being provided with literature labeling conservative opposition as villains. So there's more. So find that article. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Those are all the things that we are addressing at PYLUSD.
Yeah.
When we hear not just the three, Quintero, Anderson, and Buck, but the people in their community talk about the chaos in our district, it is not chaos unless they are causing it.
Yeah.
I titled this purposefully, Quintero, Anderson, and Buck continue their chaotic ways.
Yes.
Because they create the chaos and then blame the minority for the chaos.
Right.
But it is this type of stuff which is causing the problems in our school district.
Yes.
What do you most want to speak about to those things, or is there something?
Well, of course, I think that there's a lot of there's just so many similarities about the chaos and what's happening, as you can see with ICE. You know, the chaos that they're trying to bring, which you can attribute that to the same thing like during the election. The teachers union came to the board meetings, peddled a bunch of lies at the podium, created a bunch of chaos.
Yep.
Then they go out to the community and they fearmonger the community, which is exactly the same thing. And you have the leaders who are doing it. It's Nancy Watkins, it's Sam Majovich, this David Radler, who's like filing lawsuits against the district, who they're all working for the Quintero, Buck, and Anderson campaigns, you know, the teachers union and the Democrat Party. So you have them doing this. So it's the same playbook. They did it in Orange to recall Madison Minor and the conservative board majority. And then so you notice now it's like everybody's very silent because the truth is coming out. But it's like whatever we can do to get the people in, you know, they'll do whatever. They'll say whatever, they'll do whatever. But then I also like looked at too, part of that article was, you know, pushing the politics. Like in the board meeting, I had to say, because I had a bunch of teachers call me and they said, look, we are fed up. The union during working hours, school hours, we were teaching our classes. They had a teacher, the APLE elementary rep, coming into the classroom, and she has these signatures. Who hasn't signed this petition? We need to, you know, send this bill. We need to send this up so we can get this on the ballot. You're doing politics in the classroom. So like, we were trying to teach our kids to read and write, and yet we have this union person coming into the classroom during school hours, you know, and then they're like engaging them in conversation, like, no, we're not interested. Well, you know, and they start to intimidate. And so then they actually went into one person who's like, I think it was a first year teacher, and they intimidated her. And they made her uncomfortable while she's just trying to teach her kids. And so this is the thing is now the union is emboldened again. You're under Quintero, Buck. How much money did the union spend on signs and walkers and all of these PYL students first propaganda that was trying to say, oh, we're trying to put the students first, but it was really the Sam Mayovich, Anita Lee, Bonnie Conte, Patricia Hanzo, and the Democrat Party doing all this. And so they pose and it's like a bait and switch, like, oh, we're here for the parents and the kids. But we're like, you're just here for the Democrat Party, and it caused chaos. Yep. So you cause this chaos, but then now it's like, okay, well, we have our people in, so we're going to go back to going into the classrooms, violating the law, politicking on duty. We're going to go back to doing all these things because our people are in. Yep. And so that's the whole thing I've said is they wouldn't have tried that with Chernus because Chernus was about accountability. But, under Mussolino, like a Mussolino came in under the shadiest of circumstances. He was a far left Nancy Watkins Democrat operative, and so in my opinion, but, he works over at Cal State Fullerton. Nancy Watkins, was engaged against me, emailing the community, calling me an insurrectionist, far right, whatever, so they're doing all these political, and so then they take it over. And then you notice too, like in the crowd, like, where's Sam Mayovich lately? I mean, he comes up there and he was, defending trans things, trying to take Jewish, the Jewish Holocaust Day and implement it into it. Somehow the trans people are being persecuted in the same way. I mean, and it's so, so you have all this going on, and it's because they don't believe that this superintendent will hold them accountable because their board majority is union backed and they have free reign.
Oh,
sorry.
Thank you for that.
Sorry.
So we're losing all these children. Enrollment is falling again after it had stabilized under Dr. Chernus and Dr. Gates.
Yep.
And you.
Yes, I was board president.
I thought you were board president. That it was on its way of going up, and then as soon as they take over, it begins to fall. So that means that less money is going to be coming in.
Yeah, we lost over $6 million.
$6 million. And I'm going to bring up this stupid kitchen renovation because there's so many aspects of it. First, Anderson tries to claim that the money that's being used for USI is keeping from this kitchen from being refurbished.
Yes.
And it took an entirety of $1.6 million or something like that for USI for a new program.
In developer fees.
In developer fees that were meant for the very thing that USI was something new.
Right.
Refurbishing a kitchen is not
It's not new, you can't use it.
It's not developer fees cannot be used for that, for that thing. So that was only $1.6 million that she was screaming about that they had to have. The problem was and is that it's gone from a $1 million project to a $3 million project. And now the last figure I just heard, because the last time we went, it was 6.3, but now I hear it's $6.7 million.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 6.3 and 6.7. But the thing too Marilyn, I couldn't believe it in the board meeting when she started talking about like, dates and times when like you discuss the Valencia kitchen, like you discuss a lot of things, but then like when it gets voted in for the money and stuff. So she seems like she's upset because you have all these things that like are on the like for future projects. And so I think she was promising, I think the Valencia teachers and administration and stuff walked in and did because she's promising them things because everything goes to Valencia. If you've noticed that.
Yeah.
And so all the money, all the stuff, like they don't give new programs to Esperanza. They don't give new programs to Yorba Linda, very little to El Dorado. It's all Kramer and Valencia. And so, you have all these things pop up. Well, then USI popped up. And so the difference too, is when you're actually like looking at a business model and trying to run places like a business, Maryland's looking at, these people need a new kitchen. And so it was supposed to be maybe $3 or $4 million, like when we first started with this. But then also too, there's an email that Chernus actually sent to Carrie explaining that, hey, I think we could do it for less than that. And so like, there's all these conversations. Well, she's upset because USI, Gary Stein, the CBO, came out and said, no, $1.9 million was not diverted from, a USI fund to the kitchen. Like they move funds around all the time to pay for things. And so she's sitting here going, it was almost like you're proving us right. Like she should have had somebody else write that script for her that night. But it was kind of just crazy. And then so she's saying that the Valencia kitchen was this 3-year plan, but then USI got running. Well, you want to get USI and OCSDS up and running is because that is something that actually gives back money into our funds.
Right.
So when you get more students, every student is like worth like $15,000. That's how much the district collects. So when OCSCS opened and it went from Bernardo at 550 students to OCSCS at 750 students, that's 200 students more. So do the math on 200 students times $15,000. And then also too, USI opens and you start to get the outside enrollment. And so that comes in. So things start paying for themselves as you're making the money. The Valencia kitchen, we have no return on that. They want this big fancy kitchen. And I heard it was like pictures of past principal. I mean, it's just like, nonsense. What? Like kids don't care. Like they don't care. They don't even eat the food.
Right.
So it's
they don't even care who's there now.
No, they don't. They really don't. And so you're doing all these things, you know, and the Valencia kitchen isn't going to, there's not going to be any return on the investment. We're not filming TV shows in this fancy kitchen, you know, like we're renting out the kitchen for things. We're not doing it. You're going to dump a bunch of money in there to make it more, because it's, you know, adult employees' dream to have this type of kitchen to work in. And I mean, I still ask, does the pool have a scoreboard? You know, like there's $50,000 that's needed at Glenview for safety things, for fences. But we have a school board member who's more interested in a $6 million kitchen when all these other kitchens that are at these other high schools, they are sorely in need of service as well. And so my whole thing has been asking is, if we're delivering food to elementary schools and middle schools that don't have kitchens, why don't we just have a hub? And just go straight from this, like, you know, the hub of, you know, nutrition services and just send it all out. Like, why are we dumping all this money and have the warming things, you know, do that? Because that's cheaper than actually doing these kitchens. But we don't get any return on this investment. And I might add too, she's not even concerned. She's so concerned that USI and OCSCS went out. We actually voted to implement and to start construction on beach volleyball courts at Esperanza and Valencia High School. And it was her and Olivia Young, when it was under the Mussolini regime, that put a stop to that.
Right.
And it's like, that could be a return on investment as well, because you build those and then you can rent them out, because we don't have any beach volleyball courts that are close to here. But I don't see her screaming and yelling that was put on hold indefinitely. Like, we don't even see a future to that. There's no DSA plans for that. Right. So she's picking and choosing what she wants, and she's trying to cover up for what she was doing and saying about Turnus. And I mean, we can pull the recording of Gary Stein when I asked, was $1.9 million diverted from the, you know, kitchen project to USI? He says flat out no. So you can play it however you want.
Well, that just seems to be the thing, is that when you look at things that are going to benefit the kids in the community and increase enrollment, they're not interested in.
No.
They want to stop them. The things that were working, that Turnus brought in, they wanted to end. It is a very strange mindset of the destruction, which creates the chaos. The destruction of the things that actually benefit the school district are the things they want to tear down, and yet they want to put up things that have no real benefit.
Right.
Is there things that could be improved in that kitchen? Absolutely. I gave what little I got through my public records request, which I didn't get a bid. I didn't get an itemized list of the things why it's going to cost this much money.
Right.
And I gave what I had to a contractor, and he said, I think we could do that for $300,000.
Well, and that's the thing too, is if you go back and listen to her board report. I had to leave before she was finished, so I only heard half, but I went back and listened. And like her board report, it's just like, you know, you sit there and like people were messaging me and, you know, going, what is she talking about? Like, it doesn't make, like, I don't think she understands. Like, she doesn't understand that the projects and like the money and stuff, because even too, there was like some money and she'd be like, oh, you're using money from Prop 28 funds for this. And it's like, well, we can. And then, you know, to even like, she kept pulling things when Turnus was here. She kept pulling things on the agenda that had already been voted for in the previous month. So it's already approved. So it was already voted on approval. And so she pulled the item and we'd be like, why are you pulling the item? Well, I don't want to vote to approve it. It's already approved. We already approved it last month. So I don't think she actually understands. And I think they send her out there with scripts, and I think she gets confused. And, you know, like,
we've seen that in action.
Yeah, we have.
It's sad. It's very sad that we have people that have no idea what it is they're doing to get into these positions.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we just have people that vote on some cases just because who they like,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to listening to what is actually being said.
Right.
Because you go door to door
Mm-hmm.
and explain all these things. I just want to bring this up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 6 children. My oldest daughter doesn't live with us, so she doesn't get to hear me explain, as my other children do, about
Right.
what's happening throughout the world,
Mm-hmm.
and policy and why certain things are being done in the world with regard to Greenland and to
Right.
Iran and Venezuela. And so my oldest daughter, we had the breakfast this morning, and she's not Republican or Democrat. She's
Right.
kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
She sits on the fence, but she hangs around a bunch of people who are liberal.
Right.
And so she comes to me at breakfast quite often, I think sometimes just to understand.
Right.
So she goes, people are saying this, people are saying that. And so whether it's the shooting in Minnesota with the ICE officer and the young woman in the car who was committing a crime at the time that she did that, or what's happening in Greenland, I will take her through the truth and what's happening and the reasons why these things happen. And she goes, oh my gosh, I wish somebody would explain that to me. Because all these people are telling me this one thing and I'm beginning to believe them.
Right.
And I go, but nobody told me about that.
Yes.
About this.
Yeah.
And so this, unfortunately, is our community. Mm-hmm. We have some people that are just listening to certain people,
right?
Going through the list of people, and much of it is lies. Mm-hmm. We had that letter that went out against you, talking about your sex life and talking about your insurrectionists, even though not one person was charged with insurrection on January 6th.
Yep.
Saying that police officers were killed on January 6th. Not one police officer was killed on January 6th. Yep. And I could just go through the list, mm-hmm. but yet we're faced with that because I've gone door to door, not as much as you would like me to, but
only 2 neighbors does not count as door to door.
That is not true.
I know.
But
2 + 2.
But yeah, so they'll ask these questions, and the good news is that you go door to door and explain these things.
Right.
And so I just want to put out, just because we're talking about it, that we need more of people like you and some more people like me who know stuff, but will actually go out there and knock on more doors.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I think too, the strategy at the last election was they sent out the retired teachers, mm-hmm. and they had no idea. They're just like, given a script by the union president, and it was lies, but they went to the doors and they were strategic about it. And they had, okay, you used to work at Glenview, you used to work mm-hmm. here, you used to work there. So they would send those retired teachers out into the thing. Oh, I taught your son. You have to vote for this person. And I mean, we had teachers come up to us and at the board meeting one time with Todd, they were up there spewing nonsense. And she goes, you had a strange look on your face. When I was talking, I said, because you were lying. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, that's not this and this. And I pulled the thing out and I showed her something. She goes, that's not what they told me. That's not what they told me. So they're sending them to the podium just to make fools of themselves. They're sending them to doors to lie to you because the goal is to get their people in. Right. And then they're also too, they're opposing ICE and they're opposing the teachers union. All these people are opposing ICE and stuff. It's because you have such declining enrollment right now, and families don't want what's happening in the classrooms. And so what they're doing is they're leaving for charter school and private schools, or they're just leaving the state and they're fleeing somewhere where they think their kids can get a better education. If you take the illegal immigrants, because how many did LA Unified lose? They had thousands of kids not show up for school.
Right.
That's the teacher's job, and the teacher's jobs lead to union money. And so that's how the teachers union is going to. Less kids in the classroom means less teachers employed, and that means that their dues substantially go down and they lose power. So that's why they're focusing on these illegal immigrants and trying to protect all these illegal immigrants and their children, because we give illegal immigrants free education. So that's why you see such this push mm-hmm. to protect them and do this, because they're protecting their job, which is protecting union power. Yep. It's all this, it is actually, the teachers union is a Ponzi scam. Yep. It really is. And so you have to start thinking about that too, is the stuff that they're pushing. Why are they pushing this so heavy? And it's because if there's no teachers in the classroom, they can't collect their union dues and they're going to lose their power. It's very, very disgusting.
It is.
And I mean, you were in a union. I was in a union.
Yep.
My police union, when I was with LA County Sheriffs and with my other police department, we were not involved in politics. It was about protecting the officer, fighting for, your benefits and stuff. It was never about the politics and, going into these, elections and giving a bunch of money to politicians and stuff
and
like
making
that.
sure there are enough police officers
Yes.
on the street.
Yeah.
That was one of the other issues that would be brought up all the time. Like, why are you putting one officer in an area, of 40 square miles with 10,000 homes in it?
Exactly.
That's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And just be keeping track of that stuff. That's what a union is supposed to do, not participate in gender transition.
Yeah.
And how you can change genders while you're still at work.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. I've been you go out and I visit other unions and stuff like that. And I have to tell people, look, I'm totally like, unions could be great things. However, the teachers union, we have shown that when you are pushing an agenda, when you're pushing gender transitions and gender identity and social justice into classrooms, you're trying to fundamentally change generations through this while their parents are at work or at home. Like, these unions aren't trying to do that. These unions, like you just said, they're not doing that same thing. So the teachers union is so different from other unions.
Hey, make sure and comment. I didn't say that earlier, so we don't have as many comments as we normally do, but comment, let us know what you think. Maybe there's a question you have for Leandra before we sign off. We have a shorter agenda today, so we may not be on for 2 hours. And we will actually try to get to some of the questions.
I know, maybe my Instagram won't turn off today.
Corrine thanked us for reading that article. It's the first time she had heard it. And then we got Steve thanking us for keeping them informed. So you're welcome. I think this is important. Again, it's about answering some of these questions that come up all the time.
Right.
And again, as I've often said, I'll get stopped. I was at another meeting yesterday where people like, so, hey, I recognize you. And then they didn't have questions for me at that time, but they just go, is this really happening? Are we really spending $6.7 million on a kitchen?
Yep. We sure are.
Like, you can't even fathom, like, what is in this kitchen?
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
the
thing
pictures
is,
can't be.
They really, this is not just an upgrade. Like, they went in there and it's like it was like what Karen Farley said in the meeting. Is it lined in gold? I mean, it should be, because you don't need to, like, it didn't need to be done this way, but it's because the appeasement. And I mean, I'm starting to absolutely believe that Yorba Linda and Placentia, like, they call it unified school district. I don't think we're unified.
No,
we're not unified. We have 3 people who, Carrie Buck has a small area of Yorba Linda, and Tricia has a little bit bigger area of Yorba Linda. But, when you lie to people in Yorba Linda and say you're nonpartisan and you are pushing all this political stuff, and then you get in, and then the Yorba Linda people were voting for innovation, academic excellence, things like that. And so that's what we were delivering as our board majority. And then you get these guys in, like, what has happened in the last year and a half before we're just bleeding attorney fees? How many investigations are, employment investigations are being waged against the board majority? Now we have the Title IX violations, we're under federal investigation.
I was just going to ask you about that. What do we need to know about that, considering we're one of the very few in the United States districts that are being investigated by the U.S. government?
Yeah. So we're one of 18 who in the United States of America who is being federally investigated for Title IX violations. And it's just insane to me how the defense that the district was going to try to, or who knows, they may try to still say, is that, well, we were just following what CIF and the state was telling us to do. And my contention has just been this: no. You had 3 board members. Well, first of all, when I said I would expand a little bit, I tried to get a resolution to protect protect women's sports in April. And Marilyn Anderson denied it, but Mussolino also denied it because he said it would affect his business. And then, he has a consulting business. Okay. He doesn't vote on anything, by the way. But I think this is like another podcast day to show how corrupt the superintendent and the CSBA, the school board union processes are. Because literally, I've had a superintendent tell me that if you don't play ball with the union, when you want to be a consultant or you want to get a job after you retire, they will blackball you. Yep. And so that was one thing. Churns didn't care. He just wanted to do what's right for kids. And so the union, to this day, and these ex-superintendents, they're trying to blackball him. But he stood his ground. He stood for what was good for kids. And then look what happened to him. But So he said, no, it's too political. And then he went to the 3 board members, and he asked them if they want it on the agenda. They all said, no, don't put it on. Totally legal Brown Act. I sent it over to the DA. We put it on in May because I kind of made a ruckus. Yep. Put it on in May. they all vote, they all say their stuff. Like, Trisha says, yes, I, don't support this. And I think men and women's sports and all of her, nonsense. And then Carrie brings forward a resolution that actually was not on the agenda. Mm-hmm. And so all these attorneys say it's Brown Act violation. But Todd Robbins says, oh, no, because he's protecting his girls, because how much money has he made off of us this year?
His girls being Quintero, Anderson,
and Buck.
Yep.
Because, the shadiest of circumstances he was hired on, and everything that's been happening, we're finding investigators. I mean, literally, we lost a lawsuit. We had to pay out a lawsuit because, like, under Todd Robbins, I guess, I don't even know what you want to say, but I mean, literally, that Marilyn Anderson, when she was violating the policy and procedures, like, she did stuff that was so egregious that, like, we ended up having to pay money for it. And Todd Robbins is sitting there, and, it's happening. So all this money that's going out is because I think of incompetence. In my opinion, it's incompetence, but it's also, too, they have someone who they are running around violating board policy and procedures, and he's just protecting them.
Yep.
And so that it's like a pay to play almost, but in my opinion, so they keep it off. So we get it back on, and then Carrie brings forward a resolution to say we support men in women's sports. And so that's a Title IX federal, law violation. But what happened with Marilyn was she calls a 10-minute break, and then she goes in the back and she's on the phone with someone. She's phoning a friend, I guess. How do I vote? What the heck do I do?
Yeah.
I don't think that you're supposed to be doing that. But then also, too, Mercerino's in there, like, rubbing her back. They're talking. Todd Robbins.
Wait a minute. He's rubbing Anderson's back?
Yes. And so then you have Todd Robbins in there also, the attorney.
Okay.
And I was surprised he wasn't giving her a foot massage. I mean, it was so ridiculous. So me and Todd, we go in there to get some coffee, and we see this. And they say to us, oh, you probably shouldn't be in here because this could look.
Because we're busy giving massages.
Yeah. Well, like, this could be viewed as, like, inappropriate. It's like, we're on a break. This is not closed session. And so basically, they were saying they were giving her advice for the agenda, because if everybody's just back there just chilling, talking, then why would you care if we walked in?
Right.
So then she comes out and she starts talking about how marginalized the transgender community is, and we have to, for kindness and all these things. So you're sitting there and you have these 3 board members who are saying, we support men and women's sports. We support Newsom, we support the state, we support CIF. So you have that. And then I think what the kicker of the whole thing is that the next CIF Yorba High School track meet, you have Marilyn Anderson and Carrie Buck giving special treatment to this transgender athlete and his mother, putting him inside the back, down the side gate, did they get in for free? And then they're escorting him around. So not only did you say, I agree with the CIF and state, but now you're giving him special privileges and you're giving him special treatment that you did not give to any of the other athletes, even our own. Like, he's not even in our district. He's from Europa Valley.
Right.
But he's big with Pride at the Pier, with Carrie and Marilyn, and everybody is big into, which is a transgender club or group that go around and yell at people at school board meetings.
Yeah.
So you have that going on. And then so now everybody says, oh my gosh, why are we being investigated? It's like, well, you think we're the people who have board members who are actively supporting this and violating Title IX and federal law.
And they've completely created something that really, I mean, all kids have a moment where they're bullied by somebody. I mean, some kids, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I would laugh at them. But my oldest daughter that I'll bring up again, that I was talking about, she went to El Dorado in 2009, something like that. It was years ago. Mm-hmm. She had a transgender friend. And again, this goes to the people that call me homophobic and all this kind of nonsense. Yeah. And he would come over dressed as a woman. Mm-hmm. And I never even blinked. I said, hey, open the door, he'd come on in, and we would, whatever they're going to watch TV or whatever they're going to do. I never gave it, we would have a discussion about it and would laugh just like we would about anything else.
Right.
Like some kid that got a new haircut.
Right.
Like you'd go, oh, what happened? Mm-hmm. What happened to your hair?
Right.
Or you're really wearing that today? And we would all laugh. Nobody cared. Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. He went to school dressed as a woman, and he seemed, who knows? I mean, there is this idea that there's some mental illness about it, because it always has been looked at as a mental illness up until 5 years ago. But, I never bullied him. I looked at him with kindness and loved him. And we went to America's Got Talent filmings. We went all over the place. Right. So this is something that every kid goes through, but they want to make it this thing that we all have to focus on, apparently, and everything must stop. Education must stop. Math learning must stop. Reading must stop, because it's more important for the 1 or 2 kids that think that there's something else that they're not. Right. And it's just created I hate this word. I'm trying not to use chaos again, but it just creates.
Well, it does create chaos, because then you have track coaches who go, well, he just took first and took these girls, because it happened at Yorba Linda. He took first place in all of the events, the first time he came. And so the track coach is like, well, I have these medals. Like, what do I do with the girls that he, just dropped off the podium?
Or the 4th place girl.
Yeah, the 4th place girl. And that was the same thing. And so CIF, when they said, oh, well, the person that he's eliminated, we're going to bring him back to CIF, or, to finals, or whatever it was.
But you create such nonsense with them. They've cried, they've sobbed, they've worked all their life. But what does that help? Because they're still letting them compete. So you bring back the person who lost their place, and they're going to lose it again. Yep. It's going to be the same thing. It makes no sense, but it's crazy. And, I just hope the Supreme Court, it goes well to the Supreme Court, but when the Supreme Court was talking, they couldn't even say, the attorney wouldn't even say what a biological male or female was. Right. Nobody wants to say it, because if you say it out loud, then the truth will finally be heard. But so they keep dancing around the thing. There's 2 genders, male and female. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. When you talk to most people about it, even Democrats, the few that will talk to me, when we bring it up, they go, that really isn't right. We shouldn't have men in girls' parties.
They do. They don't agree. No, they actually do not agree.
You got these 3 people holding up everything. Can we just get back to education?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
We're 40th in the United States in education here in California. We're probably worse now. Yeah. Because that's I think 24 stats. And nobody stops and thinks well, maybe Common Core needs to be.
Yeah, maybe Common Core doesn't work.
Maybe that doesn't work.
Right.
Maybe, let's look at a different way, which many schools are doing that. I think there's schools in Kentucky, and they're seeing a complete change of the kids being able to read. That they've gone from something like 15th in the United States to, up in the top 5 in education in those states that have just reversed certain things in education.
Right.
Stop worrying about that we need 5 different kinds of bathrooms for the furries and the transgenders and the non-binary and all this other kind of nonsense. Because I think there's schools spending money on having 3 bathrooms now. Yeah. A 3rd bathroom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, too, I think that they should, if this is going to be where we're going to go, then just tear down all the bathrooms and just do single stalls. I'd rather go into a single stall than a bunch of different stalls in there. True. You got your own, you got your own mirror in there. You don't have to fight for the sink, things. I mean, it could be a good thing, but it's just, and that's another thing too, the Title IX violations that we had men in the women's bathroom at Esperanza and El Dorado. And I know that these girls, I know that they all sent off Title IX violations, but then, in the board meeting the other night, we had this Girls Incorporated come forward. And so I look at this site, it's completely about girls, everything about promoting leadership, about promoting, all kinds of things that just have to do with women and girls. And so I asked, are we allowing men in this? Because I'm not going to vote for a program that's going to allow men to once again take away, not just in sports events, but in leadership, capacities and stuff like that. Yep. And so, because I think too, sometimes when you're talking about leadership skills, leadership can go to the broad base, but you can also talk about leadership solely to women. I mean, we even have women in industry. We have an event that the district holds every year, and only women speakers are allowed to come, which I think should change. I encourage all kinds of men to come down and speak for women in industry.
Just end it all.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it just has to start going, because you can't pick and choose. You can't have the adults saying, oh, no, women in industry, we only want women speakers that apply to the adults. But for the kids, it's like, oh, it's free for all. Yep, go ahead. But so I called back to them, and because I voted no on it, and everything on there is just about girls. So I called back to the New York headquarters, and they said, oh, yeah, we only service girls. It's only supposed to be for girls. And she goes, but I oversee, it was Alabama or somewhere. And she goes, and so, we just do girls. And I said, well, I'm in California. Oh, So like, yes. And so then people, when I did my little 10-minute preview of what we were going to talk about today, I had all these people reaching out saying, oh, no, they're letting trans males into Girls Incorporated. And then, so when I ask questions about this, they say, oh, no, it's open for everybody. Well, then why? That's just the name Girls Incorporated. No. So do we have another Title IX violation here? I mean, and I looked at who was like, I started looking at who's funding it, and they have a lot of like independent funding, but they have like the American Save American Act or something like that. Like that was giving money to it too. So it's like what is going on here?
Are they changing it to they, them incorporated?
I don't know. Maybe they should.
Margaret brings up a good point. I brought this up on one of our other shows, but Macy Hirano is a crazy Hawaiian lib, just beyond. And yet, when Pete Hegseth raised the physical requirements for all military, Macy Hirano immediately complained that it was unfair to women. This is exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
That they can't, they try to do this thing, this dance that they can't do. Because it falls apart at some point. If Chris Anderson were to walk into the women's restroom when Anderson and Quintero in there and was standing in there, what do you think they would do?
Oh, they would freak out. They'd go tell the cops.
They'd say, Placentia PD, get in here. 911.
I think what we're finding is with these board members, it's only about what their feelings are and if it affects them. They don't care if it
in their power.
Affects.
It affects their power. I understand that Tricia Quintero, doesn't have a full understanding what an elected official is.
No, she
that
doesn't.
They're not an employee of the school district.
So it's very funny. I find people very funny. So Carrie Buck one time, like when Moose Serino was here, she tried to do a study session, and Moose Serino was supposed to like somehow fix the governance in our district as he's allowing Brown Act violations and like all kinds of nonsense. He was allowing Olivia Yang to like make all those changes to CSCS, in violation of the contract and with no board approval. I mean, all these things happening. And so they tell Moose Serino to try to fix the governance. It's like this, it was a clown show. But so in this whole thing, I think the whole objective was for them to tell me to stop making videos and going live on social media. And so I said, no, I have a First Amendment right to do so. So I know, like I've talked about and I've told people and I've made comments because you know what? Like Tricia Quintero, if you go to OC Vote and you look up the registration, because you can look up who's donated and all these things. She has the first one of Patricia Quintero, Democrat. That's what I read. Tell me if I'm wrong, Tricia, but that's what I read. Next thing was Tricia Quintero. So it was Patricia Quintero, and then it went to Tricia Quintero. I mean, and it's obviously all linked to her campaign, so it has to be the same person. Tricia Quintero, no party preference.
Right.
And then so you have the union, you have all these people going door to door saying, oh, she's nonpartisan, she's this, but then all of her friends are saying she totally wiped her social media. So you have that, happening. So if that's not true, then say it's not true. Tell me it's not true. I didn't do that, and show that you didn't do that. And then so then you have the votes. She's upset that people know that she, voted to keep the pride flags and social justice flags and all kinds of flags inside the classroom. She's upset that people know that she voted, to support men and women's sports. So the community is coming out and saying these people lied to me and I voted for her. Joey Davis gave hundreds of dollars to her campaign and then would come out and put her on the El Dorado website as like the PTA volunteer of the year. But it was highly coordinated because the second Joey Davis did it, it went on Yorba Linda Moms. Anita Lee's posting it. Like all of the people who are on her campaign team are posting it. And so they had to take it down because they said, you have donated to her campaign. She is a candidate. And now you're putting her up on her social media page, for like promotions. And so you have that going on. So like, is that not true? I mean, they cited an ed code about politics. And so that she had to take it down. And then so she also too, when Trump did the DEI, said we're not going to do DEI anymore. She was not within the 10 days, but she tried to get that Placentia Yorba Linda will still keep DEI. She tried to put on the agenda and it was not within the 10 days. And so Renee Gray told her no. And then they fired Renee Gray, got Moose Serino, who then it was a free for all. So if all these things are not true, then say it. But don't go up there and say, like, read the Placentia Yorba Linda, her civility clause, whatever the heck she was reading. And then say, like, try to say I was bullying her. We're elected officials. We are not employees of the district. Like, I don't think that she understands that. If we were employees of the district, we couldn't, if we're employees of the district, we can't be on the board.
Right.
Like, that's just like, and so it's just the same thing. Like, you want to say Newsom, you suck. We could say, Trisha, this is how we feel about you and your vote.
Right.
Like, you put yourself, like people say, oh, you know, all these lies and stuff that people say about me. Oh, well, that's because you ran for office. So that's just what comes with the territory. But apparently she doesn't like that people are talking and that the truth is coming out there. Well, if it's not factual, then show people the proof.
Right.
Because we're seeing something completely different, and you can't hide your vote.
No.
But don't go on there. And then she says, so I said I got Murrayed. When I told you, you got Murrayed, yep. I got Murrayed.
What happened?
So she sends her buddy Shani Murray, who was on her campaign team, and Tim and Shani. And she comes up and starts talking about, me, that I'm bullying her on social media. No, I'm not bullying anybody. Am I talking about your appearance? Am I saying like stuff? I'm talking about specific things in your votes.
That's not bullying.
That's not bullying. That is factual. Your votes are this. And then the community comes out and says, yes, she told me this, and she's voting opposite, so we don't support her anymore. That's not bullying. That's facts. That's facts.
Yep.
And so I remember when Tricia Quintero tried to do a cease and desist against you and sent Tim Murray. So the Murrays are like the hit squad for Tricia to try to silence people and their First Amendment rights. Yeah,
Tim Murray apparently was either hired or encouraged by or told by Tricia Quintero to follow me, and followed me from my home to my church.
Yep.
And walked up to me in front of the congregation and gave me a napkin with some writing on it.
I do want to know who wrote that, because I remember when I read it, I was like, holy mole.
I thought my son Bo wrote it, who's at Brookhaven. Not learning as much as he should over there at Brookhaven, because he has one of the worst teachers in our district. I can say that. But it's shocking that these people don't understand what they're elected people. They are public figures in the sense in our community, and the fact that we are just simply saying what is actually happening is just it's not a bully. I don't understand.
Well, and I think too, like, if you also look too, like Marilyn Anderson, like the other night, she said that she was on a nutrition committee, and like Marilyn Anderson. Come on, this is why, like, when I heard it, and I did get up and leave the room for a moment. I did need to use the facility, but that never came forward. We can't find anywhere where that came forward for a vote. So during Marilyn Anderson's tenure as board president, she put herself on a nutrition committee. Like, it didn't come. So this is like where I say power corrupts. Like, there's one time when Sean Youngblood was president, and there was a committee that had popped up. And he says, oh, do you want it? Are you interested in this? Because they need an answer. Those two, Marilyn Anderson and Carrie, flipped out that Sean even would think about just, going, okay, yeah, Leandra, you take it. So we brought it forward for a vote, and I ended up being on this committee. I got voted into the committee. And then so Marilyn actually called the chairman of the committee and said, can you make another spot for me? Like, so they're willing, whatever they can to get on committees and try to get this power. Like, you were not voted on, but she tries to circumvent this thing. So now somehow a nutrition committee comes up and they're talking about processed foods and like seed, like all these things, like health things. And she puts herself on there. So now I have parents all over the district absolutely like very concerned, because they said, who's in charge of our nutrition? I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be kind.
When I went to the UFC gym and was looking for a trainer, I found the guy that was the most buff and looked the healthiest, and that's who I hired.
Right.
We got Robert Kennedy Jr. in charge of our health. A guy who's like 78, 79 years old, able to do pull-ups and push-ups with one hand.
Yeah.
And looks fabulous, and has steak for his cake of his celebration. Understanding that the pyramid should be upside down. It's not a farce. It actually should be. My wife and I have been living that way for years since we've been married, and I've lost 35 pounds using the upside down triangle. So those are the type of people that you want looking at health.
Yeah. I mean, we've done the same thing. I always wear these baggy clothes. My husband always goes, you've got your life vest on. And that's kind of the joke. He says, hey, can I take you out for a date today? He says, but would you promise me to wear baggy jeans and a life vest? So I'm not disappointing him today. But that was the same thing is like my kids have like literally they go, can you please just buy us a bag of Cheez-Its, please? Because I sit there and I look in there and I sit there and I look and it's like everything has seed oil. Like even when you go to Trader Joe's, I'm sorry, I love Trader Joe's, but sometimes you go in there and like the salad dressings and a lot of the stuff that claims to be healthy, like even the hummus, like check the hummus sometimes there's like it's made up with vegetable oil.
Yep.
So you're supposed to be looking for the avocado or the olive oil, things like that. But we've been living that way too, where I have been, and I've been trying to like implement it at home in ways that the kids, don't know. But I mean, sometimes they're like chicken again for dinner. Yep, protein,
Yeah.
But yeah. And so I just, and even in the back, like the snacks, I don't want to complain. So I just don't really eat anything like when I'm at the board meeting or I bring my own stuff. But the snacks are Oreos, Cheez-Its, like all of these things. So if I was on a nutrition committee, that would have been my first stop. Is, hey, the snacks back here, get rid of them.
So it reminds me of the school board member in Minnesota who got arrested for going into the church.
Yes.
That needed 2 handcuffs. She should be charged for an extra handcuff.
Double cuff.
That should be added to her bail.
My gosh.
2 handcuffs, that's an extra $100.
The only people I ever respected who needed a double cuff were the super, super buff guys that just they couldn't get their hands behind their backs. They had to have 2 hands.
She can't get them back there for another reason. I want to ask you about this. It just came up. I don't know if you know about this article. If you do, great. If not, then I'll look it up later on. But she says, I'm not sure. It's Webble Perry. Says, be encouraged by our prayers and take a look at the latest headline from Pacific Justice Institute regarding a case in Texas they just won on behalf of parents. And then in the link, it says $7.5 million. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard anything.
It won't let me go. I tried to click on it. It won't let me go to it.
Yeah.
Darn it. I want to hear more about that. So I just want to, obviously.
Well, hold on. Kalinda said, oh my God, I love Oreos. Well, go to the Thrive Market and they have a dupe for Oreos that's actually fabulous and it doesn't have all the stuff in it.
They have gluten-free Oreos that you can get at Bonds.
But the gluten-free Oreos, if you look, still look at the back.
Why do you look so close?
Because you have to look close, Andy. You have to be serious about these.
My wife does the same thing.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
I know.
Now I've learned. I go, can you just tell me if I can eat this or not?
Yeah. Well, I found this really cool protein drink the other day, and it was like a coffee one. Like they said, oh, you could substitute your cup of coffee. And I looked at the back, and there it was, vegetable oil or something in there. And I was like, gosh darn it. And so I put it back, and somebody asked, why'd you put it back? I said, don't let me ruin it for you.
I'm going to say this. It's going to sound bad, just that I hesitate to say this, but it leads to something else. So it's going to sound like I'm thinking of myself in a certain way. But I'm at the gym. I'm in my towel. Because I take a shower at the gym.
Okay.
I don't go to the gym in a towel. I'm in the locker room in a towel.
Glad you clarified that.
And this young guy, 24, 25 years old, he looks over at me in the mirror and he says, "What's your secret?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, and he kind of goes like that. He goes, "What?" I go, "Well, it's my wife.
Yeah.
My wife is the one who's takes care of me. She's taught me how to eat properly. Yeah. I weigh myself every day now, and eat according to how much I weigh. If I'm above 195, I eat less. Yeah. If I'm below 195, then I can have a little something. Yeah. A little Reese's peanut butter cup. Yeah. But it's the women in our lives that, well,
I think Dave. I think Dave might say the same. Dave's lost like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
He's been working, certain things. It's important, for your health.
That support system.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Janice Lim.
Oh, okay.
Who I see increasingly claiming that she's a Republican. It's I find it hysterical because she's really trying and saying that, oh, she loves President Trump. Like this is really bizarre behavior. Again, there's some mental issues going on here. How can you be standing at a track meet supporting a man competing against girls, and then the 3 people that are in charge of our school board at the time, and support them in everything that they're doing as far as destruction of our school district, and then write a Facebook post and say that you're Republican, or go to an event and say how Republican she is? How is this possible?
Well, I think that she wasn't at the track meet actually, but all the people that, like Misty Jansen, she
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, Misty Jansen and Sam Majovich, who Janice is friends with, and worked on Misty and all of the, Marilyn Anderson and Tricia Quintero's campaigns. So Janice was like way knee deep in with all those people.
Yep.
So she supports all of them. And so, but she wasn't at the track meet. It was Sam Majovich and Misty Jansen, my opponent, that she supported, who were out there yelling and screaming about supporting men and women's sports.
Okay, and so all the people that she surrounds herself with.
Yeah, they were all there.
That's why I got.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if we're gonna, we want to be truthful.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, so I honestly think it's because of where she is. Like, you aren't going to do much in Yorba Linda if you're a hard left Democrat. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just our community just doesn't. Our community doesn't vote that way. Yorba Linda voted against Prop 50. We were like one of the Orange County, Placentia, I think, voted for it. We voted against it. So it's just, so I think what she's doing is she's just trying to placate. And I think she's also trying to go for both sides, because if you looked at her Martin Luther King Jr. Day post, it was kind of a strange post, but I wasn't that, but you had Dawn Miller. She's one of Misty's like biggest, she was a huge Misty Jansen supporter. And then she also too hosted Janice in her home. Mm-hmm. And like, she's very far to the left. She was coming and yelling and screaming at all the board meetings. She's commenting and she's basically trashing the president. And like, Janice Lim originally put a heart on the comment, and then she changed it to the care. Like, how it's like, oh, let's give you the hug, symbol, or whatever it is. And then you have Sam Majovich on there, liking her stuff. So I think what she's trying to do is she's trying to appeal to both sides to get more votes. And so what does that create? If you're going to try to appeal to the Democrat side and you're going to push people into office for men and women's sports, how do we ever actually defeat these type of things if you're not willing to take a stand? Right. And so she supported Tricia Quintero. She supports Carrie Buck. Carrie Buck was out there trying to help with the recall of Sonia Shaw. They were trying to recall Sonia Shaw there for a while. She's standing with all the people who recalled the conservative board members in Orange. And so she's in with this group of people, but she tries to hide it. But Misty Jansen's campaign manager, Danelle Votley, she was given a leadership position on Love Yorba Linda when Janice was in charge of it. So it's kind of one of those things where
those are people you just do not want to hang around with.
Yeah, Danelle said some pretty terrible things. But too, Danelle used to say
she flipped me off, but she drove next to my car the other day and she flipped me off. I was just driving. Gosh. I didn't cut her off. And she's a hoot. So, I'm pretty sure it was her.
So I think too that's who you have to look around. Janice was with Sam Majovich and Nancy Watkins, and so she if you play both sides. And so I think that's the thing is we should all want to try to meet in the middle. But you can't meet in the middle when you're talking about men and women's sports. Where do you meet in the middle for that? Where do you meet in the middle for these transgender surgeries and parental notification policies? And that was another thing I brought up is we've had some counselors and some administrators in our district when the teachers have been alerted to something in the classroom and they're following our parental notification. Mm-hmm. These counselors are saying, no, don't call the parents. You just send them to me. And they're like, well, I'm honoring our policy. And so that's the thing. And we've also had people who say that some counselors have been going around saying, just send them all to me. I need job security. And so that's the thing too, is that's what, and people go, oh my gosh, Leandra talks so terribly about the district and teachers. I'm not talking terribly. I'm telling the parents, this is what's going on. Right. And so until you have leadership, we have Turnus, Turnus was staunch. This does not happen. This does not happen. We don't do this.
We don't harass.
So then, we don't harass principals. We don't harass law enforcement. Yeah. We don't harass these things. And so then when Mussolino came in, literally Mussolino was giving the okay for the ICE cards to go out. Mussolino,
told the principal that you have to accept being bullied because you're
because you were hired by Turnus. Yeah. And so I still don't know if I've asked for an investigation into that, because obviously you still have these employees and maybe even board members running around who are doing that. And so I don't know where that one is, but you have all these things that are happening, and so then people go, well, why is ICE now? Why are these teachers so emboldened? Why are counselors emboldened to say this? Well, they're emboldened because the superintendent at the time was Sereno, and I don't know, I haven't seen so much, or I haven't been told. I don't know what Dr. Kim is doing with some of this stuff, but you have Turnus who took a hard stance against the union. I have to check too, and I'm still trying to find the answer. Turnus stopped. We had a misuse of taxpayer funds because for 20 years, we were paying the union president to sit at the teachers union office and get paid just to sit there and politic and hand out political signs and to do all kinds of nonsense. And so he stopped that. And so that was one of the huge vendettas the union had against Chernus, was that they stopped the hookup. And he says, no, if you want to have that position, CTA, you can pay for it. So that's another reason why the union hated Chernus so much. And so I have to check and make sure that that's still implemented, because when they were doing all these things, removing Renee Gray after, Renee Gray wouldn't do their bidding, and then you brought Mussolino in, those three stooges were running this district. They were out there telling people what to do. So I don't know what it returned to, but I mean, like all of a sudden Valencia, like they told me, Marilyn Anderson and Olivia Young said that Valencia didn't want beach volleyball courts. So I got on the phone, I called over to the volleyball parents. Do you guys want beach volleyball? Yes, we want those. Yes, we do. So it's kind of like, it's just been, it's been a hard road, but this is what happens when you don't have leadership at the superintendent level, or you have a board who, maybe is making the superintendent afraid that they're just going to fire him like they did with Chernus, because you won't, enact their illegal stuff and their policies. And
so we have these other districts around us. We got Brea Linda, who has the school board member who was arrested for, was it possession of child porn? I forget.
Yeah, it was not good. Well, and that wasn't one thing too, that I know that our board majority, I think a couple people were supporting him and walking with him or walking for his campaign. I'm not sure though. That was just what people told me. But it was really funny because the Brea school district put out, the board put out like, hey, if this guy wants to show up, he's not an employee. So Tricia, take note. So he's not an employee of the district, so we can't stop him from coming to this. He can come, and if he comes, like, we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's like another thing too, is like I hope Tricia's starting to understand what her actual job is, that we're not employees. Because like, he's under, he's got all these problems, and like they were preparing, because I guess he was non-responsive to like the district or whatever. So they didn't know if he's gonna show up, and it was like, well, hey, we can't stop them. Yeah.
Then you got Orange Unified School District, who's also losing students like crazy since they had that recall, and it's gone. They have scandal.
Yep. Well,
and they decided to do something.
Yes. So last night at the board meeting, they hid it in the consent calendar. They gave themselves what is calculated. I think Orange Unified, their board members maybe made $700, like, a month as their stipend. They gave themselves what people are calculating to be a 186% raise. And so they think now that the Orange school board members are now going to make $2,000 a month. And so, and that's like, too, like you can sign on. I don't really have any benefits because obviously I'm under my husband's insurance, but that could be like, that's a great side hustle. Man.
In a school in a district that's failing.
In a district that's failing, they're losing, and then
that's the craziness about it.
There was another contract too that was very interesting. The superintendent hired a friend of hers, and for $125,000, this person is going to go through contracts, to see if they can find contracts and like release contracts or change contracts to save money. And so you think, oh, $125,000 for the year, $125,000 for a few hours. Like we're talking about hours, not days, not weeks, hours.
This is the disease of the left, though, is that they want something for nothing. You got Ilhan Omar, who suddenly goes from zero in her bank account to $30 million. And they're saying, everybody's saying, like, where does that come from? And her husband has like $50 million and somehow acquired a winery that people go, how did you do that? There's not one person that says this is not possible.
Isn't her husband a white guy too? Or no, but the brother was the first husband, and I think he's white. And so I think I always see the thing when she talks about white supremacy, but then you marry a white man.
Yeah, the first guy.
The first guy was her brother.
The brother that she married was not white.
No, he was not.
Whatever they want to call it.
No, he was Somalian.
Married a brother, so that he could be a citizen of the United States.
Oh my God!
If that's not fraud, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Leandra.
I know.
This world.
I know.
And it's, the same discussion with my daughter this morning was that you understand when people are saying there's chaos, the people that are saying that are the people that caused the chaos. Yeah. And then they want you to believe that it was the other people.
Yeah.
When we have crime down in the United States, murders are down 21%. They've not been that low since the early 1900s.
Yep.
You got carjacking down.
Yep.
You got inflation down. You got the GDP up. You got so many things that are happening. Peace in so many countries there was not peace.
Yep.
And you have changes in Venezuela. You got some potential changes in Iran. None of those things could have happened without the strength of the president of the United States,
right,
and the things that he's done. None of those things would happen.
Right.
And yet they're still saying, well, he's done nothing in the year that he's been here. And there are people that believe it.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. The border's closed. Fentanyl deaths are down significantly. There was an emergency room doctor was saying that he used to see 15 people a week. He goes, we maybe see 2.
Yeah.
And that's from an emergency room doctor.
Yeah.
Those are things that you can say something's happening.
Yeah.
Something's being done, or else those things don't just happen.
Right.
You hear Democrats saying, what was coming down anyway?
Right.
Okay, bro.
Right.
How is that? How is it possible to just ignore all the positive? I was in Oklahoma the other day. Gas was $1.89.
And that's what somebody was ranting and raving the other day on social media. And I said, like, they go, gas is 3 something here. And, I'm not seeing the Trump stuff. And then some people say, well, where do you live? But $3. And as I got on, I said, look, we're $4.60 here. If you live under a Democrat, super majority like we do in California, you're not going to see the stuff that other people, and it's because of the taxes here, the gas taxes and whatever. But what I also thought was interesting was Carrie Buck coming out and saying, the board majority is not trying to close Esperanza. Well, you're not trying to close Esperanza now, but Mussolino at the time, when they were taking over and they were talking about moving USI over to Esperanza, they were talking about all kinds of nonsense. They took away French program. They're taking away all these programs at Esperanza. And so they were literally, Mussolino was saying, it's declining and we're going to do this and this and that, or we're going to need to close it. So why would you take so much programs away if you weren't planning on closing it? Like, that was a discussion he was having. And so that's when I said, yes, they were trying to close Esperanza. Is the new superintendent trying to close Esperanza? No, she's embracing like this whole, like, hey, it's a smaller school. We can take advantage of what a smaller high school can do for students. So that's kind of the theory. But, before, when you had these 3, they also were telling people that they weren't trying to close OCSCS, but then what was Mussolino doing? What were they doing? They were moving programs out. They were trying to do whatever they could to take away funding from it. Remember when USI came up and they were trying to close USI? They kept saying, we're not trying to close USI. And then when Tricia actually voted with us for USI to keep it open, Marilyn asked her, like, she went and said, excuse me, like, what? Like, she couldn't believe that Tricia voted that way. So, so they're saying all these things, but then when they get caught and like things get put out, and I think that's the thing that they hate, is that I'll sit there and I'll listen, I'll read, and then I'll tell everybody. So they can't hide it. Like the 186% raise, if it was in fact that in Orange Unified the other night for their board members, that was hidden in consent.
Yep.
And like our attorney, I agree with like the attorney situation in our school district. We were paying, like, when they hired Todd Robbins with AALRR, literally in 7 months, we had a bill of $341,000, which our bill from Orbach, Huff and Henderson for the entire year prior was like $111,000. So like they're paying these guys for protection because they've done so much. I believe that they have enacted fraud on the district. And I believe everything that they did violating the policy and procedures. They put Todd Robbins in place. And like Todd Robbins actually was harassing me, texting me, emailing me, because a week before this whole thing went down to get rid of Turnus and Gates or put him out on leave, like somebody from AALRR was talking. And so how would he know that someone was going to file a hostile work environment and all these things were going to happen, but they were waiting for the board majority and the law firm to change? How would somebody at that law firm know unless someone was talking and there was some type of coordination or collusion? And so when I've been saying it, and so Todd was like, I need the name of the person. I need the name of the person who said that. I'm like, I ain't giving you the name of the person. Like, this should never have been before they hired him, before they tried to put anything on leave. I did like a 5-minute thing laying out everything that I had up until that point that I'd observed them doing. And then the violation of the policy and procedures. And you know what? And he jumped on. And so I'm not giving you jack, because who's to say that now you're not going to go intimidate this employee at the law firm?
Yep.
Especially too, because I think, I know people have been filing formal complaints and you have an obligation to investigate. So Todd Robbins and AALRR will probably fall under if those investigations are happening. And if what I'm hearing is true, like, how do you keep a firm who could possibly be linked to investigation of fraud and malfeasance? So,
yeah, that's what you get when you hire people or elect people in a position that are incompetent. And I'm not saying you have to be a business owner to know how to run the district, but you have to at least have common sense.
Yeah.
And when you have a program that was essentially working, like let's say it like Esperanza,
right.
and you have clientele, which are the students, you don't take away the things that keep them there.
Yes.
You don't take those things because, of course, people are going to leave.
Right.
It's like any business. If you have something that's working and people like it, they're going to come and either buy or purchase or participate in whatever it is that you have that you're offering. If say you have what you thought was a good business model and it's not working, you get rid of it.
Yes.
So it's one or the other.
Right.
You don't mess around with something that's working to the point where it starts to fall apart and then have to close it.
Right.
Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
It's one of the dumbest things you can do.
Well,
Like,
USI. They don't want USI and OCS to be successful because that would mean that Chernus was right. We were right. I mean, and they were just like, you should see the lack of support that they had, when we opened up the OCSCS, like, was their grand opening. I was the only person who was there. USI, Carrie came, but she was trying to just basically collect information from employees about like how this opened so fast.
I was there.
Yeah. And the Olympians were there. All the Olympics were athletes were there.
But they say that did not show any interest in it. The Olympiads.
Yeah. Nobody cared. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too, is what they've done to that program is they didn't allow it to thrive. And so, we're still like, people are still interested in it, but they're not like, they took away like the core tenets of it that was making it great. And now Orange Unify is trying to open one. So it's kind of like, they just don't understand. They don't understand because they're just listening to these old people like Sam Majovich, these past retirees in the union, keep everything as is, keep everything, the way the union does. So the union can keep their power and keep their jobs. I mean, I've said this before, literally when we were doing OCSCS, the union president at the time said that she was against it because it would be such a success that the community would want programs like that all across the district and that the union would lose control. And I was shocked. I go, she actually said that out loud, and they said yes. And so that's it. So it's not about your kids, getting better educations and more opportunities. It's all about what they can control. It's actually insane. Like in the union contract, you guys should go read it. It's on the APLE website. I think it's even on our website. You should go read it. They think a good class size, the union, like they say they're fighting for all these things. The union class size is like 38 kids in a class. That's the cap. So like you have other school districts who cap their kids at 30, I mean, so the stuff in there is not really, it doesn't make any sense, what I'm saying. Like, they always say, oh, we'll have smaller class sizes. Well, then why aren't you fighting for this in the contract to have smaller class sizes? You're capping stuff at 38 kids. I think it's 38.
They really don't care about the students, nor do they care about the teachers.
No.
They love the teachers that side with them and support everything they're doing and make ICE cards and hand them out in schools. They love those teachers.
Yeah.
But they really don't care about the working conditions of the teachers, or else they would have put walls up in the classroom.
And Travis Ranch years and years ago.
Because how can teachers teach 4 different classes at the same time in one room?
Yeah.
It's impossible. So we've seen for years, they don't care about teachers. They don't care about students.
Right.
It's what you said. It's about power and pushing the propaganda.
And I think too, this PYLUSD page that's full of, it's just, they won't even come out with who's really running it, but we know who it is.
Mm-hmm. Am I on that page?
No,
okay.
They wouldn't let us on that page. So we wouldn't want to be on a PYLUSD page.
Well, I meant requires,
Oh yeah, they talk about you and me quite often.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
nice.
They sit there and they talk about they went there and they talk about these walls that went up at Travis Ranch. The people who were in charge of that project were people that aren't here anymore, Brad Runge and Giordano. And so they're saying, well, Leandra, like they didn't put them up right. The walls go up.
You went there with your life
vest, hard hat,
with your life vest and your hard hat, and you put up the walls.
I put up the walls. Like I'd oversee that is not like, so this is the thing is these people who are out here talking, they don't, it's like Trisha. They don't understand the role of a board member. Do I go to the, Marilyn was going to the district all day, trying to make friends, all these things, overseeing. And hounding people. And that's not what a board member is supposed to do. Like, I go to the district if I have to go sign something or if I have to go to a meeting. That's it. I stay away. Because we have put Dr. Kim in place to enact, what the board's vision is. So I'm not very trusting of the board's vision right now, but no, so that's implemented. So for me to go in and be looking at every work order and to like go down there and oversee them putting up a wall, I don't know anything about the DSA. I don't know anything about construction.
Right.
Like I know how to pick out some tile and like paint a wall, but that's it. So like, why would I go down there, and oversee it? So like these people who come out and say like, oh, well, they had to tear it down and like, because I think what happened was the fire sprinklers, they like redo some, when the walls, they had to like redo some areas where they needed additional fire sprinklers or something. So they had to pay for that. So they're saying, they're blaming me. And it's like, so you don't understand and you lie to the community about our actual role. It's just insane. Okay. It's insane.
Can you believe we're at hour 25? I go, you know what? We're going to end early today.
I know, we never do.
Gosh, Leandra.
I know.
You make a liar out of me. All right. Is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to talk about? We talked about
so we talked about Marilyn on the nutrition committee. We talked about Tricia and the bullying and harassment policy for employees.
Yeah.
We've talked about Title IX. We talked about the Girls Incorporated. We talked about
Mussolino.
We talked a little bit about we talked about the law firm and the fees.
Liberal Janice Lim.
Yeah, Janice. Oh, too, that was one thing that we should mention, was another thing I mentioned in the board meeting is, we have all these politics happening on our school grounds. And that's another thing that needs to be stopped, is like Janice Lim has come onto our school campuses and nobody knows that she's there. And she's talking to students and nobody knows what she's talking about. You cannot use district property as part of
your campaign.
Can't use it for political purposes. So we have that happen. And then you have, like a couple years ago, the APLE union members had Nancy Watkins coming in to be a speaker for women in industry. And if you look at the pamphlet, like her opening thing, everything was about her campaign against Ken Williams for Orange County Board of Education. And so we had to pull Nancy Watkins at the last second because they said, dude, you can't use this, for political purposes. And so you have all these things that happen, Joey Davis, promoting Tricia Quintero after giving to her campaign. You have like, you have people like them. We've seen some PRAs where like the Defenders Hub is emailing teachers on their website for, their work website, PYLUSD.org, promoting Democrat people, so you have all these things going on that's just not supposed to be going on. And I think that's where a lot of this infiltration is, when you have the union doing these things, like everybody else knows you cannot do this, you can't use district email for this. You can't do that. But here we are, we have all of this happening, and now it's starting to really happen. Teachers like harassing people to sign a petition for something to go to Sacramento. I mean, like, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so
all of it's right in line with that NEA article I wrote. Everything in there is exactly what's happening.
And so like, I think that's the thing, is like, we're not out here like, trying to trash talk teachers, but when you have the NEA and the union and they have articles that are saying this, I'm sitting here saying, yes, this is absolutely right. This is happening.
Yep. All right, my friends, that's our take on this. I'm sure we'll be back sooner than later with some more information about what's happening here, because they ain't stopping. No matter what, no matter how bad it gets, it just seems like they can't stop themselves.
No.
All right, my friends, we love you guys. God bless. Take care.